Hi guys, so now that you have picked the ideal central RLS, we need to go back and refine that final trial graphic organizer. Open that up and we are going to double check that those second order claims that you wrote are actually strong, reasonable second order claims. We've done this plenty before this semester, so this should look really familiar. In fact, what I'm going to do is pull some footage from previous feedback videos that I've made for you, just to remind you of some of the strategies you should use to make sure that those second order claims are true second order claims and they are nice and strong. Before we get to strategies, let's look at a little clip where I talked about the correlation between knowledge questions and second order claims. People are forgetting to answer the knowledge question they have selected. People have asked a knowledge question and they've written claims, but these claims do not match the knowledge question, which is kind of confusing to me. The point is to answer the question. If your question is a why question, your second order claim should have the word because. Or if your knowledge question was a to what extent question, your second order claim should indicate the extent. And also, the claims should be about knowledge, just like the question is. In that same video, I went over several strategies, and I'd like you to use these strategies to refine your second order claims now. If you'll recall, one of those strategies was the 8th grade method. Think back to 8th grade, probably to social studies class. You were learning how to answer one of the short answer, long answer questions on an assessment, and the teacher told you to rephrase the question. So that's what I want you to do. Just rephrase the question and then very simply, very clearly answer the question. That's your second order claim. It doesn't need to go into a great deal of detail, and it should be very clear, very lucid. Once you're confident that your second order claim follows the 8th grade method, it's time to test it out using the call and response activity. Again, let's look at an old video that explains that method. You can use the call and response technique to double check that you have actually answered the question and it is a good, clear answer to the question. To do this, you need 3 people, well, yourself and 2 people. Siblings over the age of 12 work, parents, friends, and for every claim that you made, you'll want to do this activity 3 times, and it's really quick and easy. It's a role-playing technique. So one person is going to ask the knowledge question. One person is going to answer the knowledge question by stating your second order claim, and the third person is going to listen. You want to make it as much like a natural conversation. One person's like, hey, I have a question for you, blah, 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 blah. And the other person says, oh, well, the answer to that question is, and then they answer the question. It should be really easy, straightforward. People should be able to understand you. It shouldn't be complex and hard to understand. You've asked a question, you've answered the question in 1 or 2 sentences maximum. And by testing this out with people around you and making this sort of like a skit, you are essentially checking to make sure everything's clear. So call response technique is a great way to proof things. Now that you've gone through the 8th grade method and the call and response method, you should be confident that your second order claims both match your knowledge question. Another thing I need you to look for is that your second order claims actually bring you to different answers. They are representative of 2 different truths. It can be really easy to just rephrase the same truth and make it look like they're 2 different claims, but this will ultimately give you nothing to talk about. So make sure that each of your claims is offering 2 very different perspectives. It will offer you scope to explore. Now that you've done that, it's time to move on to the next phase.